I think it's so fascinating that all of us talk about, well, communication is so important, but so many people communicate like shit.
We were talking a little bit offline about communication techniques, and people these days don't have a high level of communication when they're talking to people in relationships or outside relationships, and that, for me, I don't get it, right? So if I'm, and I say this to people quite a fair bit, if you want to learn how to become a tradesperson, where do you go? Well, you go to trade school. You get an apprenticeship. You learn how to do plumbing, electrician. You go and do all that stuff. If you want to become a CEO, you go and do an MBA of business. If you want to become a HR rep, you'll go and do a university course on how to deal with HR. Yet when it comes to understanding a relationship or ourselves, we just tend to wing it, don't we?
Yeah. Or mirror what our parents taught us or what our friends say or what have you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we have this massive gulf these days about people, and I see it on online all the time. These people that they communication techniques are pretty ordinary, and especially in the male space, because you've got all these male pickup artists who are talking about, how do I manipulate women? How do I influence women? How do I get them to into a vulnerable position? And I think that's quite unethical. But I think that we lack as a species, especially with AI and all the social media coming out and all this narcissism that people have these days, is that we lack basic human communication techniques. And as you said before, a lot of us are actually unaware of it because a lot of it comes from our childhood as to what the environment, says about who we are. So if you've got someone coming to you, it was a bit of a long intro, right? You've got a client coming towards you and they have a very, very poor way to communicate. What are some of the things that you would start working with them on to help them understand not only themselves, but how to communicate with a partner?
Well, I'll just preface with, as you already know, I am not a person to dish out surface level band-aid bullshit
Yeah,
solutions.
correct. That's why you're on here.
Throw that out there first. Um, it's most often, right? We are, and this is somebody you could say who hasn't done any amount of inner reflection or
Yeah,
inner healing or inner work, whatever language you want to use. Most often, we are afraid to be our true selves, to be real, to be, you could say, weird, quirky, not saying the right thing, bad timing, whatever you want to call it, because we have experienced in the past judgment,
yeah.
rejection, so on and so forth, right? So it's not the easiest thing to do, but
Mm,
I always guide my clients. I don't care if they're if it's the beginning, the middle, or towards the end of us working together. And this might sound trite, but like, be yourself,
yeah,
whatever that is, whomever that is. If you have like, a dark, twisted sense of humor, and that's who you are, show up as that version of you, right? Because here's the thing: you can't wear the mask forever. And
no,
then one day, I don't know how far down the road, right? But one day, the real you shows up, and then the other person might be like, who the fuck is this? I didn't sign up for this
where did it
person.
come from?
Yeah, and that is like, that's one of the biggest problems. It's like we're showing up as a representative, right? And
Mm,
this goes beyond, you know, all of us want to kind of put our best face forward or best foot forward and whatever you want to say. Show up as our best self, right? But
yep,
often our best self is still wearing multiple masks. It's not our true self.
yep. So in that space, and we've talked before about conflict and how people have really bad, well, they don't do conflict very, very well. Like I saw I don't know if this is your post or somebody else's, the other day, is that men, especially men, well, probably not men, but get this wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. But I know from people I sort of see, they struggle to tell the truth to their partner for fear of conflict, for fear
Mhm.
of arguments, for fear of the fact that they may hurt the other person. Oh, that's right. It was a post about affairs. Why men tend to have affairs, and instead of addressing the problem, a lot of the guys were commenting about the fact that the reason why I didn't have why I had this excuse, but the reason why I had an affair is because I couldn't tell my partner the truth, because every time I told the truth, I was scared because I then ended in conflict, arguments, plate throwing, or the person couldn't emotionally deal with the truth that I was saying, that I was maybe unhappy with, maybe our sex life or the way I was being treated or the way I was being appreciated. And so in the end, that person had an affair rather than dealing with the truth. And I thought it was rather interesting that it's quite common that people in relationships will hold on to the truth because of the fear of what that truth may reveal.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, truly, at the end of the day, they're just hurting themselves.
Mm,
Because if you can't be like, this is your life partner, right? Or at
mm,
least your long-term partner. If you can't show your true self, all parts of you, right? Like it's very easy for us to show the parts that society deems as good,
yeah,
good,
acceptable.
yeah,
Yeah,
worthy, the bright, shiny parts, if you will, right?
yeah,
Are the ones that we kind of want to be like, oh, stay down there, hide.
oh, that one's shame. Yeah,
Yeah. The shame, the embarrassment, the humiliation, the whatever. No,
yeah,
Jung like called it shadow. It's in essence
yeah,
what it is. The darker parts of us, the not dark as an evil, but the
mm,
ones that live in the shadow, the ones that we somewhere down the line, somebody told us they were bad or wrong or dirty or sinful or any combination of those,
yeah,
right? And so then we have deemed those parts of ourselves the same, even though that's not true. I mean, we're
mm,
human and we're divine beings simultaneously. So there
mm,
technically is no bad, wrong, dirty, sinful. That's a bullshit
yeah,
lie too. But
yeah,
that's another conversation. So when we it's like to me, I see that as a form of self-betrayal. And they don't
yeah,
even realize they're doing it, right?
yeah,
But by not showing up as their true self, by shifting who they are to please another, it's
hmm,
self-abandonment.
yeah,
And the other person and then that person is like, well, it's her fault that I cheated, or it's his fault that I cheated because they didn't allow the space for me to say what I needed to say, but that other person just didn't have the courage to say what they needed to say, and then realize that they're not the one who's in charge of how the other
mm.
person reacts. They're only in charge of delivering the message.
And this is where hiring someone like yourself is really important because, and I will say to the listeners, right, even though we've been talking about, becoming true self and being able to communicate this stuff, this stuff is a skill set, right? If you try and have a truthful conversation with your partner now without understanding about their view of the world, their trauma, their back history, it's going to be a shit show. It will implode on you completely.